I played my first show when I was 15 years old, and I was a wreck. It was probably one of the worst shows in live music history. I had no idea
That's how
what
I feel
I was
about
doing.
my first podcast.
We went and bought an amp the day of the show and had like a little tiny little microphone and a itty bitty little amp, and we played this place in Pinehurst, and it was so fun because it was something that I loved in a form that I never experienced before. It's funny how those memories they last like strawberry wine. 17, the hot July moon saw everything. My first taste of love, ooh, bittersweet, like green on the vine. Strawberry wine.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our, I think this is going to be the third episode of Sipping Success Small Business Spotlight, presented by Suede Brews Coffee. I am your host, Evan Presley, and today I'm excited to sit down with Julia Golden, artist and songwriter, and talk about her ventures as a musician and hopefully some success as well. Julia, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm excited.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I was very happy that you wanted to do this because first musician that we're going to do, and we've already had a couple now wanting to do it.
That's awesome.
Yep. And I used your name. She's like, oh, I know. I don't know if you know Scarlett.
Yes.
Yep. So I saw her the other day at James Creek.
That's awesome.
And she said good things too about you.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
So really, I want to start off with, tell us about you, who you are, what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm an 18-year-old singer-songwriter from North
18?
Carolina. Yeah, that's my mama comes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yes, I'm 18. I'm from right here in North Carolina, and I've been doing music pretty much my whole life. I've been doing this full time since about January, and I love making country music and I love singing.
When did you get your start doing this? Like, was it always?
It's always, I like to say it's never not been music kind of thing. Ever since I was really, really young, I've always just gravitated towards creative things. When I was in elementary school, I started doing musical theater, and I did musical theater for 13 years. And then I got a guitar when I was like 13, and I kind of wrote songs and sang in between that.
Those awkward years.
And yes, and those moments, you need something. And
Yep.
So I picked that up. And as I kind of got more into that and I learned more about songwriting, I found that it just called to me more than musical theater ever did. And so I went to boarding school my junior year of high school for musical theater, came home, visited Nashville, and did some songwriting rounds, and then decided to drop out of boarding school, complete my senior year online, and pursue music full time. So it's pretty much since January of this year, August of last year, we've been full steam ahead, just doing music.
That's awesome. And I mean, congratulations. I think I just saw
much.
on Instagram you hit 3,000 followers, which is a milestone. It's tough to build a social media.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I'm still so confused about Instagram.
It is the hardest part of my job. The most difficult thing that we do is social media.
Well, I honestly, I'm going to say that you guys are doing it very well because I've been looking at your page as a reference.
Oh, thank you so
much.
Like,
there's still so much that I have to do, but seeing how you guys are doing the highlights and the just having more there and available for people to click on to see who you are is huge.
I appreciate
it. And, any advice that you would have for anybody, musicians or even small businesses starting out building a social media platform?
Yes. I want to begin by clarifying that I do not run my social media by myself. My parents are kind of my team. And so the volume of content that I'm producing on all of my social media platforms is not realistic for a singular artist. And so I've had artists come up to me and be like, you post so much content. Like, I feel lazy. And I'm like, you're not. It's not you. I have a team, which is such a blessing for me.
Right.
But the truth with building a social media platform is that it's only somewhat in your hands. Whatever the platform decides to push, whatever the platform decides to send into the algorithm, you only have so much control over. And so what we kind of did for my social media platforms is we just tried everything. We posted videos from shows, we posted videos in promotion of shows, we've posted like grid posts on Instagram versus reels on Instagram. And we've kind of found our niche. And Facebook is really where we started taking off, or where we started getting a lot of viewership.
Yeah.
And that became my fastest growing platform. And we kind of used some of those rules that we found worked with Facebook on my Instagram and TikTok, which has then helped both of those to grow as well.
Yeah.
So just kind of messing around and trying everything until you find your niche would be my best advice, to try to have the fastest, like, viewable growth that is you can easily see, because any growth is growth, considering how difficult it is.
And I don't want it to seem like, we have to track the followers. It's something that should just come over time and not be so hyper fixated on it. But it is something that is huge that we do need. We do need the following. Every like does count. And, that's one thing I've never brought up before, but going through Instagram, if you're already scrolling and you see somebody that you support, just double tap.
Exactly.
One little did and keep scrolling does so much for the algorithm as well.
I always say is the biggest way to support artists, of course, streaming music and coming out to shows and tipping these artists. But the biggest, most helpful thing that you can do is the easiest thing you can do for any business. And that is to just like, share, follow, repost, do any of those things. Because it makes those 5 extra viewers that you're going to get makes the world of difference.
Right. I mean, and that's really fun too for me, is like I stream on TikTok live when I roast, it was just like, I'll do something. So I started doing that. And like the first time I even did it, I was like 10,000 viewers that showed up, and you had this giant group of people flowing in and commenting, asking questions about what you're doing. So just putting yourself out there is another way.
Absolutely.
But even after that, now that I've done it consistently, that hasn't happened anymore. So now I might get 1,000 over an hour and a half viewers that come in, but now we're getting feedbacks, and growing that small network will eventually come back, because it's either for small businesses, it's the be-back customers. And I'm guessing, assuming for musicians, it's the people that show up to your events.
Absolutely. I've spent a little bit of time in Nashville, and I feel like this applies for small businesses, for artists. All of it is, you have to build your community from the inside out. That's the biggest piece of advice that I've gotten, is like, obviously there are these people that are going to make one TikTok video and then blow up and have 100,000 followers. But the best way to grow a loyal audience and people that are going to want to continue to support you and what you're doing is by starting small and just slowly building that, because they're going to bring people in. Everyone else is going to bring people in, and you're going to have an honest community that is actually supportive. And it's really fun to watch even other musicians begin to grow that audience in around Moore County, where I'm from, and all over North Carolina.
Right.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, and it's huge to, people always are worried about competition. And for me, like I've said before, there is no competition. It's what you create that matters. And that's for coffee. I mean, just look how much different brands are out there, and musicians, look how many.
100%.
Right. So it's just, you just have to create and love what you're doing and be yourself, and people will follow. Absolutely. And it's definitely happening much, much more, I feel like, nowadays.
100%. I feel like the internet has seen so much of everything.
Yeah, roller coaster for sure.
It's just so oversaturated that all they want is honesty. They want authenticity from creators, because it's the only thing that's unique, is a singular person.
Right.
That's the only thing they have not seen before, is this one person's personality. And so that would be another piece of advice, is to just find a way to infuse who you are in every single thing that you do.
Right.
Because that is what sets you apart. That is what makes you different, which sounds very like cliche.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with that.
But
well, I mean, even going further, just if you're not even wanting to build social media, just as yourself, pushing yourself forward. Like I mentioned before, I was in sales for 8 years, and car industry is the worst industry to ever be in, and people just hate salesmen. But when you get that one salesman that listens to everything that you say and then takes you to the car that you just basically asked for, it's a much different thing. And that's just being honest, being true, and being you. It's like, just listen, do your best, and be of service.
100%.
And so not even just as a creator, just as a person.
Yeah. It brings you so much more success. And the truth is I've been doing this for a long time, kind of on and off, just doing shows and playing music whenever I get the opportunity to. And it wasn't until I started just doing it that I was able to find my footing. And I wasn't like thinking into every single thing that I wore and that I said, worried about, oh, does this audience like me? Does this audience hate me? Does this restaurant want me to come back? Like, I just started doing it, and which is, of course, easier said than done for something like that.
It is, and it takes repetition.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. And of course, me being on stage as a kid really helped me ease into that because I had so much experience in front of an audience. But people will like you if you are you.
Right.
They just don't want to see what they've seen before. And
which is a lot out there.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, I just did an interview just for a job the other day, and they're just like, one manager after another just had nothing to say. There's like, yeah, I mean, you've got it. You've got the job if you want it. You got the job if you want it. It's just like, I used to be so terrified to do interviews, and now I just go in and I'm like, no, just be me. Yep. Because that's it. That's all you got to do. And I'll get you hired, as long as you're genuine, I hope. But yeah. But I mean, your perspective for and I hate to bring up the age, but your perspective for being 18 is, I mean, has that just come from being so strongly connected to family and listening and soaking in everything that your family teaches and hopefully tells you?
Absolutely. I've been so blessed to have such a great support system with what I've done. When I was hoping to go to musical theater, which I don't know, not a lot of people know this, but like the college audition process for musical theater, it is harder to get into a musical theater program than it is to get into Harvard Law.
I believe that.
Like there's 2%, 6 kids or like 6 girls out of 500 kids that will audition will get picked. And so whenever that was what I wanted to do, even though it's so hard, they were fully behind me, full steam ahead. And then when I was like, hey, I know you like shipped all my stuff to Michigan, but can I not go back? They were like, you know what? We got it. We'll figure it out.
That's incredible.
And it's been full steam ahead. It is actually insane.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's
it is such a blessing because...
I mean, just that kind of support. And that's what I preach for wanting to do for my daughter is if she switches 100% full all the way in, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel like is your dream, I will support it. And, it's for a lot of people, it's breaking a generational gap doing that.
100%.
And it's, my dad always supported that. He always, when I did YouTube when I was about your age, I was doing video game. I'm 28, by the way. So 10 years ago when I was doing video game like playthroughs or that kind of stuff, I did all right, and my dad was like, "What are you at, son? How are your views?" So like that was huge for having that kind of that back.
100%.
So, and he was involved a lot. Sorry, in my coffee creation, my dream, before he ended up passing. So like a lot of the ideas that he had for he came up with Blue Suede Brews Coffee. Our last name is Presley, so we're related. I think 6th cousin. I did a speech on it in 8th grade. I don't remember exactly, but I want to say it's around there. It's distant, but coming from singing is my whole family. I'm the youngest of 9. All of us sang. All of us did tryouts for, it was called chamber ensemble in high school, and awesome. We all did 4 years of that. So definitely, I applaud you for having that courage to go out in front of audiences. I was terrified. I was the blend singer. I was just like. Quiet, but I would bring in a little bit when they needed like a little more tenor. I was like, there you go, there it is. But no, it's tough to do what you do, and any advice that you have for people starting to do that, and how to find venues, like how do you start with that?
Oh, absolutely. So the first thing that you have to remember is that people hire. Being a live musician feels like this daunting, intimidating thing. It feels like you're going on tour in front of 1 million people when you play your first show. But I feel like it becomes a little easier when you realize that you're a skilled hire in the same way that someone would hire a professional painter to paint their house. They're hiring you for the skill that you have. Your talent is already something that other people cannot do. Right. And so that's a
great way to put it.
If you put yourself out there and you try to book these jobs in that mindset, it becomes a little less scary. Right. And it feels like there's less pressure because you're doing something. If they could if anyone could do what you're doing, they'd ask a waitress to do it.
Yeah.
And they just give her normal salary and they'd give her a guitar and let her sing.
Right.
But it's a skill. They're
Right.
hiring you. They're not going to hire a waitress to do their plumbing. That's not,
Right.
that person isn't trained
No,
for that.
exactly.
And so looking at it in that mindset kind of helped me, at least, to have the courage to reach out to these businesses and say, hey, I'm a musician. My biggest advice for musicians trying to get into it, if you've never played any shows or anything before, is find local venues that you enjoy going to as a patron.
Smart.
So it's a place that you're familiar with, a place that you're comfortable with, places that you know do live music, and start emailing them. Have videos prepared of the kind of music that you play, just so that they can get a glimpse. If you have a band, you don't need a band to start performing live. That's another misconception. Yeah. You don't have to have a full-on Metallica setup to be able to play a coffee shop. It can just be you and a guitar and an amp, microphone, all of that. And just email these businesses. Reach out to them on Facebook. You can reach out to them on Instagram. You can reach out to them through their email or website. A lot of places will have a live booking or a live music booking tab on their website that you can find and go and submit. And just give it a shot.
Worst anybody can say is no.
Exactly. The worst anyone can say is no. A lot of the times, they won't even email you back. And so you don't even have to deal with the rejection. You just can forget about it.
And being in sales as long as I was, I'm so used to no that it's like I go for it.
Exactly.
I'm just like, let's see if I can get another no. And it's incredible with this venue that I'm going on right now with the video podcast series that I haven't had a no. So now I've got, I don't know how many businesses I'm up to that I have that want to be on this, and it's interesting. It's incredible. It's that every episode I'm able to not only put them out there on a platform they otherwise would not have been on, but I get to learn so much stuff as well. So I just interviewed Catherine Ann, owner Tacile, and she taught me a lot of keywords just in search engines that I wasn't using, that I was like, oh wow, I'm not from here. Cool. So like the word Tar Heel, I had no idea. I'm even a history buff, and I was like, Tar Heel, what are you talking about? That's really cool. So Tar Heel coffee, Tar Heel, like just using that in your search engine will help get more views on stuff locally in our area, if that's what you're trying to grow. So
that is so cool.
Tar Heel musician, like country singer, southern singer, like all that kind of stuff. Those are keywords I wasn't thinking about. And it's, on YouTube, there's all these how-tos, and they're so basic, and it's a business for them to do those how-tos. So it's not necessarily them being 100% genuine. So it's hard to find what your exact keywords are.
100%.
So yeah. 100%.
So cool. It's putting yourself out there. I found, like you said, the worst they can say is no, and you can get, like you said, you've not received a no yet. Especially when it comes to something that's creative, people want to take a chance on you. They want to give you the opportunity. And the truth is if you are going to go and be this huge star, they want to say that they had you at their coffee shop before anyone else did. Or that they had you on their podcast before anyone else did. And so just give it a try is my biggest advice to new musicians. Or to anyone taking on any new creative endeavor.
You just got to do it. Like you said, hit record.
You just got to do it. And I am now at a point where I played my first show when I was 15 years old. And I was a wreck. It was probably one of the worst shows in live music history. I had no idea what I was doing. That's how I feel about my first podcast. We went and bought an amp the day of the show and had like a tiny little microphone and a itty bitty little amp, and we played this place in Pinehurst, and it was so fun because it was something that I loved in a form that I never experienced before. And it's also really cool to say that at 18 years old, being a musician is my full-time job, that this is what I get paid to do. This is how I make a living. This is how I pay for everything I need to pay for, and that I'm self-funding trips to Nashville and all of those things. And the only way you can do that and get to a point where you make up your passion your full-time job is if you just do it. Just gotta do it. And it
can be hard. Sometimes it's two. You have to do two jobs.
For sure.
And it can be exhausting going 9 to 5 and then trying to figure out how to do your other passion. But when it comes to your passion, it shouldn't be work. It should be fun anyway. So you should be looking forward to doing it anyways.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's, you know, I'm going back, I'm looking 40 to 49 hours just going back to work, but I'm still, my days off are going to be podcasts as often as I can to keep my schedule, my bi-weekly schedule. And you just got to do it. You just got to keep, that's another, I mean, for my advice is, and I'm sure you would agree is, what's the word I'm looking for, but repetitiveness or a schedule, like you got to commit and not have it sporadic. You have to have a solid commitment to it
100%.
and a schedule to it. Otherwise it's going to falter. And that's how you see, like, even those people that do blow up on TikTok for one video, if you look at everything else, it falters and it's not the same quality. Or you got to have growth. You have to keep be willing. It's like, one of my actually favorite artists of mine is John Bellion. I don't know if you know about him. And not just about his music, but about his whole persona and personality. And one lyric he has in one of his songs was, "It's not about getting bigger; it's about getting better." And that is exactly it. I don't care about getting massive. I'm not gonna get a larger roaster because my demand requires it. It'll become specialty. If you want it, you'll have to wait, type of stuff.
100%.
And same with the podcast. I'm not going to just stop interviewing small businesses. I want the small businesses to get those views 100%. So people can, I want to take down corporations. Like, that's the vision that I have. Like, we're too far into this corporation world that it'd be nice to make dents.
100%.
So, and I never even mentioned, we are drinking brandy wine today, our medium roast Colombian single origin coffee.
As a coffee snob, 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
sweet. Fantastic.
Good.
So good. Yeah, I love that. I totally agree. You just gotta, if you commit to it and you're honest, then it will come to you. And we always, me and my family, we talk about often, a lot of people in the music industry nowadays, if you do not have a minimum of couple 100,000 followers, record labels won't even look at you.
Right.
They won't even pay attention to you. And you can build that organically. It takes a very, very long time to build a platform like that entirely organically, through like kind of pounding the pavement like I am. But the more you grow that audience and the more the algorithm begins to like you, the more likely you are to have one of those videos that's going to strike gold and get hundreds of thousands of views or go super viral and make you famous. Right. And what we always say is that whenever you do get lucky, you have to be prepared to take that and hit the ground running with it.
Right.
And if you do, like you were talking about, getting that structure, getting that posting consistently and being involved consistently and committing to the bit, basically.
Right.
That gives you that foundation that you can keep running off whenever.
And nothing should change.
Should strike gold. It shouldn't. It should be easy because you've already doing it. And now you have even more of an audience or even more of a consumer base, if you're a business, to run with and to have these people supporting you. And I get so excited. I love this kind of thing because people starting new creative endeavors or entrepreneurship and things like that just bring me so much joy, because putting your heart into the thing that you love the most is for some reason such a scary thing. Oh, it's terrifying. Absolutely. It's the worst, most terrifying thing in the world. And it sucks because it is, to me, one of the truest forms of joy as a person, is genuinely committing to something that you love so much. And it was originally what the American dream was. American dream wasn't how the banks put it, getting a house and a mortgage. The American dream wasn't all these other things that, 401k, like it's American dream is doing what you love, even if it means you got to scrape by. Absolutely. Because I'm telling you what, the scrape by 4 months that we've had have been the happiest of my life. And that we've gone from, making this incredible amount of money I've ever made to, like I said, scraping by. And money does not bring you happiness. It brings you food sometimes, but then there's venues that you can take. There's government assistance that you can take. We haven't done that yet, but we probably should have, but made it a little bit more easy.
But those things are in place for a reason. It's not to take advantage of, but it's also to help you live your dream, live your goal. Yeah, and hopefully it's not going to be that you're going to be using it for your entire life. It'll just be the 2 years that it takes to get your business off the ground.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And with social media, there are ways to kind of social media is both a blessing and a curse when it comes to small businesses, because like I was talking about, a lack of social media presence can keep you from getting opportunities as a small business or as an independent artist.
Right.
But it can also help you, because you can pursue being a full-time musician and have a full-time job doing it entirely on social media.
Yeah.
That constitutes as a job. And it's now at the point where you can monetize it with live streaming and with posting content. And so it's such a wonder. In this day and age, there are so many different ways you can pursue your passion, especially when it comes to things like music. And it's just, like you said, you kind of just, sometimes you gotta go all in.
Yep. Leap of faith. Yep.
Absolutely.
What about do you guys have a vision for where you're wanting to get to or wanting to be here in the future?
It's such a hard question to answer whenever, like, I get that a lot. Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And it's hard to answer, one, because in 10 years for me, I'm doing this so young. 10 years from me, most people still are not, people are still figuring it out. 10 years from
I just figured it out.
Like everyone still. And so that is one thing where it's like, that is still so crazy young and the beginning of my life, figuring things out in 10 years. But obviously any small musician's answer would be like selling out stadiums like Taylor Swift or Zach Bryan and making millions of dollars and living the dream. But that's obviously easier said than done.
Right.
The honest truth is, if I'm still creating music, if I'm still creating original music, and I am somewhere farther along down the line than I am today, I'll be happy.
That's awesome.
As long as I
think honestly that's a true vision, that's a true goal.
Absolutely, because obviously I want to sell out stadiums, but I want to sell out stadiums because I saw, just as an example, I saw Zach Bryan 2 weeks ago in concert when he came to Greenville. And I've never seen, and people will make fun of Zach Bryan. Oh, he can't sing, he can't write, he can't do any of those things. But tens of thousands of people all singing that passionately together, connecting so deeply over something that Zach Bryan created. That is the reason why I do music. Yeah. That's what I'm chasing. And so if I'm not selling out stadiums, but there's someone somewhere connecting with the art that I'm creating, I'm doing it for the art. Yeah. I'm doing it for the music. That is the goal.
I think has been lost a lot in the music culture. Is it's a lot of famous people they're not writing their own music.
They're not.
I mean, John Bellion as a prime example, how many hit sounds or soundtracks that has he given to artists, Justin 100%. Bieber, and they do so well because of his creation.
Absolutely.
It's sorry, I got distracted by the baby. So yeah, no, that's so she is. I love her so much. And having someone like that, I'm fortunate enough to have my wife in my corner. I've never had anybody like as much other than my dad that had let me do what I wanted to do so much than her. And that's a piece of advice I'd love to give to anybody is finding that person. It doesn't have to be a partner. It can be family. It can be friends that give you that kind of love to do what you want to do and stay around those people.
Absolutely. So, it's hard to do without support because, like we talked about, it's terrifying to do. And so just having that one voice over your shoulder being like, you got this, you can do this. Yep. This is worth your time. This is worth your energy and your money and all of that. And it's so reassuring.
Yeah. It's so easy to just get in your own head and falter pretty easily. I mean, if you start thinking negative things, those things can just fester so quickly. So, and it's much more, it's going to happen a lot more when you are alone. Whereas when you have people to back up, because as soon as you start to tumble, having that family to be like, nope, you're good. Next, go on, keep going.
I can confidently say I probably would have quit music. There's 5 different times where I might have if I did not have my parents and my family in my corner, because it can be very discouraging. I'm not gonna lie. Like that is another, like, for people that are just now getting into this, yes, the worst they can say is no. Sometimes that's pretty terrible.
Yep.
But just having someone there to read it feels like the end of the world when it's someone denying you in the face of the thing you love most on the planet, like something that you put your entire heart and soul into.
Yeah.
It can be really, really difficult, especially when you're creating like original music
Yep.
or starting a business about something you care about. It can be really discouraging, but like you said, just having a support system and just someone to be like, hey, it's one no.
Yep.
It's one instance where you got knocked down and
just gotta keep getting up.
Yeah, you can get back up. You can keep going.
Let me check video real quick because I forgot to put do not disturb on. So what is creating your own music like? You know, like it's not a, I don't know how to put it. I mean, I feel like all tried to write a song or I mean, at least people that are musically inclined or like to sing. I could never really get guitar. My double joints on my fingers kind of ruined that for me. But, you know, what is that like? How long does it take typically to write a song, to come up with an album, to create something that's fluid, that flows well together?
There's a lot of different processes that go into creating either a full album or a full song. And the writing process is different for everyone. A lot of people, like we were talking about earlier, write their own music. A lot of people write their own music with other artists or other writers. A lot of people cut other people's songs. And so I write everything. I've only have one song that I've produced and released as of right now in this moment. And I wrote it. I have the sole writing credit on that. And I'm working on a couple of other things coming up in the next couple of months. And I have the sole writing credit on all of that. But a lot of people, like I said, will co-write. I've done a couple of co-writes, and I actually do have a co-write, a duet that I did with a friend of mine named Garrett, coming out within the next couple of weeks that I'm super excited about. Awesome. But the writing process is very different for everyone. When I write by myself, sometimes the song will happen in 20 minutes. Sometimes I'll write a verse and then I'll let it sit for a year and I'll come back to it. Yeah. Sometimes I'll hear a phrase in a movie or a book, or something that someone else has said to me, something I've said to someone else. It's in my household now. I'll like be having a conversation with my mom about like a deep philosophical thing, and I'll say something, and she's like, "That's a song. That's your next song." And so it just, a lot of it comes out organically. And for me, whenever I get a song, I'm the kind of writer where it's like it just comes out. Like I'm just doing it. Like it's 20 minutes, start to finish, all of it down on paper, and then I spend the next time kind of figuring out the melody and the guitar part and all of that. And then whenever you want to go and decide this is something that I want to release, I want to put it on Spotify or iTunes, all the things. You got to find a producer. So I actually worked for my song Cupid.
Interesting.
That is here. Or a lot of people produce their own music. I do not have the talents for that. I am a singer-songwriter. I'm not a singer-songwriter producer. Don't put GarageBand in front of me.
You're adding more and more jobs every time you add on to that. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. I do not have the brain for that. I wish that I did, but I find music production so insanely impressive. But I worked actually with, they would actually be a good person to maybe reach out to for this podcast. Spice House Recordings is what they're called, and it's a 2-person production company right here out of Sanford. They produce for Scarlett, who you were talking to as well. And they produce for a lot of different artists in this area. A lot of the local artists that you're seeing are coming from their productions. It's Jose and Annette are their names. They're the 2 nicest guys on the planet, and they're absolutely fantastic at their jobs. They're actually both in like rock, metal, indie bands.
Sick.
And I went into there and I was like, hey, I want you to make like my cutesy little country song for like teenage girls. And they're like, all right, bet. And they went in there and they did such a fantastic job. Like I threw something that was totally out of left field for them at them, and they took it and ran with it, and they did such a fantastic job. So they're amazing. And I also did another song with them that was like an unofficial release I did for my 18th birthday a couple months ago. And they're just fantastic. They're amazing. And both of them have built their business from the ground up.
Awesome.
And they do all of the instrumentation themselves. They're fantastic. But I also I'm getting into the studio with a place with a producer in Nashville next month, which is super exciting to work on some upcoming projects. So once you have the song that you're happy with, you go into production. A lot of times producers will help you alter the song, fix it, kind of pare it down or change some things around to make it more marketable or to make it better for production purposes. Get your song produced. a lot of times I have gone through a couple of different producers. I've worked with different people. Sometimes
you got to find the right one.
You got to find the person that's able to reflect your
vibe
sound.
with them, yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that the producer is bad or you're bad or whatever.
Nope,
it's just
exactly.
You got to find the kind of person. It's like I've co-written with people where it's not really worked out. We just weren't compatible. And then like my friend Garrett, who I just released a song with, we write really, really well together. And
right.
Our creative flows are very similar.
Right.
So it's that kind of thing, just finding your match. And the producer that I'm working with on these upcoming projects, I'm working with him for the first time, but I'm really excited about it. And I think it's going to be a good pair. And obviously Spice House did a fantastic job. So I have them as well to work with. And so once you get your song produced in the way that you like it, you can go through. What's cool, a lot of people don't have like a different perception of this. You don't need a record label or any kind of representation to release a song. You can literally log into a program, pay them $25 and put your song everywhere.
Right.
And not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people that are trying to get into being an independent artist know that. And that is the best way to start to build an audience, is to have music they can listen to. So once you have it produced, you can go through these programs. DistroKid is what I use, but there's a lot of different ones, TuneCore, and there's one more I can't remember the name of. And then you can go through and upload your song and have a release date, and then you're a published recording artist, and it's really, really cool. But the artistic process is very, very different for everyone. For me, I write a lot of songs. Not all of them end up in the studio. Mm-hmm. I like to kind of see the public perception of them. I'll play them out in some of my live shows, post them onto TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, kind of see what my audience's perception of them is, how they feel about it. If my audience has shown interest in it, then it's something that I feel comfortable being like, all right, I can invest in this. I can put in the time, and then I can release this to the world. So,
I mean, have you? You just mentioned a big three for social media. Have you ever looked into Snapchat Spotlight? That has been an up and coming thing that I'm seeing more and more of. And I mean, I don't know if you know who Gary Vee is. I hardly ever even really watch his stuff, but it was a quick little bit that I saw somewhere where he's like, if you're a small business, if you're a small musician, if you're anything like that, if you're not posting on Spotlight on Snapchat, it's basically, he's saying it's the next small.
Really?
It's like it's just like TikTok. You will get on a For You page on Spotlight, basically.
That's so interesting.
So it's promoting your small brand while it's still fresh.
That is so cool. I need to look into that.
Yeah, I do too. But
I've always used Snapchat as like, that is my generation's like primary form of communication. Like, I don't
that's how I communicated with my wife when we met and everything. It was always Snapchat.
Like, I don't text my friends. I message them on Snapchat. And so I feel like for me, my perception of Snapchat is just, it's so casual that I don't really see it as a marketing tactic.
Right.
But I think the casualty of it is what makes it a good marketing tactic.
Right.
And so that's actually really interesting. I didn't even think about that, but I definitely will have to.
Yeah.
Because I forget that they also have their own like reels or like video.
Yep. Everybody jumped on that bandwagon when
the short
TikTok,
form content kind of thing.
And it's having videos that are short. And that's why I've been trying to get a feel for it, which I wanted to bring it up with you as well. The when you're making reels and you're making I don't know if you do shorts on YouTube ever.
We don't, but we probably should.
So what I've learned is it was on a video that I watched not too long ago. Someone saying to name your files. So your video file, and that goes for everything that you post, even on Instagram as a short. And the reason being is because if you name it and you use keywords in that name, it comes up as on Google searches as well, and Google Images and Google Videos.
That makes sense.
So, and there's also a lot of people saying that that's not true. They're saying that was the algorithm years ago. It's not how it works anymore. But I wanted to put it to the test, like everybody always should.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
See if it works. So I had made 4 shorts, and 2 of them, just MP4, no video file name. 2 of them video file names, and there's a 66 view on the no video names and 500 plus on the ones that have file names. So I definitely think if you're a small business, organize your videos and just name it what it's about. So I mean, just putting success or successful definition, or the definition of success for like those new shorts that I just brought out. It's interesting to see the amount of views that come out of it.
That is so interesting.
Being as small as a channel as I am, that's more than my following times 3.
100%.
So it's getting out there.
That is so amazing. And it's so interesting how just little things like that are so easy, things you wouldn't even think to do, can make such a world of difference when it comes to things like this. That's so cool. I'll have to keep that in mind because that's really, really, really interesting.
And I think the term they used was metadata tag. So if you ever, do you have a Mac or, so have you ever used Audacity? So what I'm recording on right now, it's a free program for audio.
I haven't, but I bet my dad has.
Yeah.
Because he's got all my technical stuff. I would break those things.
It's interesting on PC, it never said anything about metadata tag, but on Mac, when I went to go save, it said save metadata tag. And I was like, what is this? And then it gives you this whole format that you can type out name, this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to start using that because that's going to be more embedded into my videos. So yeah, that's a little piece of
algorithm
advice.
You didn't even know existed.
Right.
That's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
In a world that we have no idea how the algorithm works, we always think that we figure it out and then it changes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. They keep changing it. That's the thing is like they will keep. If you get to a certain amount, I'm at a point on Facebook right now where I'm in the algorithm, they've recognized me as a upcoming creator or becoming emerging influencer.
Right.
Because of the amount of growth that I've had in the past year, in the past couple of months, really. We just had a couple of reels do really well and take off. And so we've been getting a lot of following really quickly. And they will, if you get to that point where you're uploading consistently enough and bringing in numbers, they will start to email you about the algorithm. Like they will give you advice on how to change and kind of feel the algorithm and upload according to the way that it changes because it is changing so constantly. Right. And a lot of platforms are kind of pushing their reels and their short form content because TikTok make it banned or restricted.
Right.
And so they're trying to kind of make up for that before it even happens. And so that's another thing is that if you're structured with it and you keep uploading in, and these companies, they want to make money. They want your videos to do well. They want to have another creator that they can kind of put some fire underneath and then monetize it for themselves and get that interaction. And so if you start to push content, they'll start to help you do it.
Yep. That's incredible. I had no idea that was even
really, a thing. Really cool. And they'll email you and they'll be like, hey, this is what's going on. This algorithm is changing. And what's really great right now is that Instagram and Facebook, like the Meta companies specifically, they're spotlighting original content. Yep. That is their goal, is they want to push content, not stuff that's re-uploaded from TikTok, not stuff that is another creator that they've re-uploaded, or like a clip from a movie that you've reposted. If it's a video that came from you, that is original on the internet, that is going to be pushed farther than something that you uploaded there and then also uploaded on TikTok. So, which is, from a creator standpoint, fantastic because yes, this is what we wanted the entire time, is for original content to be spotlighted.
Absolutely.
And for small businesses. And so.
And I mean, as far as, or as well as with the originals, I mean, it's lazy to put it on TikTok and then save the file and bring it out to everything else. So
absolutely.
Because I was interested in that as well, because I saved it and brought it over to see if it would do the same thing, and it would not get any views. Whereas where I edit it all on my computer, save the file, and then I just bring it to my phone, which is another thing that I found as well, is uploading from your phone rather than a PC helps more.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why or how that algorithm even catches that. But when I do PC, there's nothing. There's 0 views. But when I do phone, they push phone, they push original, and it's easy to transfer most of the time. So, well, is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
I'm not sure. I feel like we've covered a lot of bases.
We did cover a lot. Well, then how about just spotlighting you, giving you 5 minutes, and tell people where they can find you, where you're going to be performing, and any upcoming albums or anything else that you have.
Fun stuff going on. So I've got a lot of projects coming up, like I was talking about earlier, but I'm kind of at a point where I don't really have specific dates or times or anything yet. But I am very, very active, as we discussed, on my social medias. It's just at Julia Golden Music everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and
I'm sure I'll put it there.
Oh, gorgeous! Oh, I love that.
I'm getting better. I'm learning.
I love it. And then I'm also juliegoldenmusic.com is my website. Got everything over there. I am all over North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, all the places. You can find me all across the state. And my entire schedule is uploaded monthly on my website. So all my shows are there. And just stay tuned to my social medias for any updates about releases and things like that. So I have super exciting things coming up, and I'm ready to share it. But we got to wait until we got everything in place. So.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, what about any venues out there looking to hire you? Can they find you on your website, send a form in?
We've got on my website, we have a booking request. I do private parties, I do restaurants and cover gigs, I do original shows, songwriting rounds, things like that. So that you can reach out there. And you can also find my email on my website. I also have a highlight on my Instagram page with all of my contact information, so you can get a hold of me for booking.
Awesome.
And I'm always open to do new shows.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty easy for me to reach out. I mean, I just shot the text over Instagram.
Yep.
So you were very good at replying and not even waiting 3 weeks for. So
thank you.
You're definitely you're in the mindset of being on top of it, which is
absolutely
great. So well, thank you so much for joining us, and absolutely. I hope you enjoyed the coffee. So
it was wonderful.
Good. Our next episode will be with Catherine Ann's, and then from there we also have one that I'm very excited for. Many people don't know, but John Remsinger. Steve Weinberg is an old friend of mine down in Florida. I don't know why his name just came in my head. John Remsinger here in Sanford. He is with Sanford Real Estate, and he's also a big community talker and a talker for the AM Buzzes and policy luncheons here at Sanford. So he's an all-around swell guy. His saying that everybody knows him. He always says it, and I'm going to say it before he does on the podcast. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Make sure you go follow Julia on her Instagram. Do you have Twitter as well? I hate Twitter.
I'm sure I hate Twitter. I'm sure I do, but I don't use it. So you can follow me there, but you're probably not going to get content.
Yeah. So Instagram, Facebook, go to your website. Those are going to be the big three, and TikTok as well. So go check her out and show some support, show some love, give her some likes. Doesn't take much time. Thank you guys.
This town just don't feel like home. Regret like the weight of the world on my shoulders, calling out your name, haunted by the fact that I never got to hold you. I wish I could change, pick up the phone, nothing new, almost call, never do. Make melodies of everything I wish that